The political temperature rising once again in Malaysia as it heads into another state election, this time in Negeri Sembilan. The stakes are high for Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's Pakatan Harapan-led coalition following its crushing defeat in Johor. CNA's Melissa Go with this report.
About 60 kilometers south of Kuala Lumpur, Negeri Sembilan will go to polls on August 1st. The election comes less than 3 years after the last state polls, which saw Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's Pakatan Harapan coalition join forces with long-time rival Barisan Nasional to form the state government. Back then, neither coalition secured a majority in the 36-seat state assembly. PH won 17 seats, BN 14, while the opposition Pakatan Nasional took the remaining 5. Now the battle lines are drawn once again. BN and PH are set to contest nearly every seat. Now, ahead of nomination day, both coalitions unveiled a mix of veteran politicians and newcomers, with nearly half of Negeri Sembilan's 890,000 voters aged below 40. Now, PH has lined up 36 candidates. BN has fielded 25, leaving the rest to its so-called new allies from Pakatan Nasional. BN State Chief Mahmud has vowed to reclaim Negeri Sembilan after the coalition's uninterrupted rule of the state ended in the 2018 general election.
Peperangan pilihan raya ini sama ada kita menang ataupun kalah. Kita menang, kita tubuh kerajaan. Kalau kita kalah, kita kena lanyak pula.
Mahmud, who serves as foreign minister in Prime Minister Anwar's cabinet, is defending the Rantau state seat, which is held since 2004. Now, the blue wave appears strong and is blowing from the south. Now, fresh from the historic win in Johor, its Chief Minister Hafiz, who's a poster boy at the recently concluded Johor state elections, was on site to throw his support behind the Barisan Nasional candidates. Defending the state government is Pakatan Harapan's incumbent Chief Minister Aminuddin Harun. He says Negeri Sembilan has recorded annual economic growth of more than 4% under his administration, while investments have more than doubled.
Beri peluang kami untuk 5 tahun ini. Kami akan bekerja bersungguh-sungguh memastikan Negeri Sembilan yang makmur, maju pada modern pada masa 5 tahun akan datang.
He blames the 14 BN assemblymen who withdrew their support for his government for triggering the snap polls. They had accused him of interfering in royal customs and traditions, saying his actions had worsened the state royal crisis. Ahead of what is expected to be a high-stakes and emotionally charged campaign, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim has urged all parties not to drag the royal institution into politics.
Tugas kita mesti pertahankan sistem diraja, seberaja dan perlembagaan negara. Kalau kita mula jadikan idea politik, dia tidak akan kesudahan.
Analysts say the odds are stacked against the incumbent.
Pakatan Harapan, especially PKR, they are their weakest point now. With they haven't recovered from the internal party election last year, so it's not the best time for PKR to enter the state election.
For a politician to navigate the royal house in Negeri Sembilan is also a lot more complicated. It is already a very difficult relationship to begin with.
But Ms. Anwar's biggest coalition partner, the DAP, remains optimistic.
2/3, of course, is a tall order in Negeri Sembilan for any coalition, for both coalition, for either BN or PH. But I think as far as PH is concerned, securing a simple majority is achievable.
While the outcome of Negeri Sembilan state election will not alter the balance of power at the federal level, it will be seen as a key test of Mr. Anwar's leadership. With many seats won by razor-thin margins in the last election, the race is expected to be fiercely contested.
CNA's senior correspondent Melissa Go joins us live from Seremban, that's the capital of Negeri Sembilan, and correspondent Aqil, Haziq, Mahmud live from Kuala Lumpur. Melissa, we will start with you because we just heard from that analyst. Odds are stacked against the incumbent in Negeri Sembilan, and after that loss in Johor, Prime Minister Anwar Ibrahim's Pakatan Harapan coalition under even greater pressure.
Indeed, Prime Minister Anwar's Pakatan Harapan desperately needs to score an equalizer here in Negeri Sembilan by at least maintaining the state with a slim majority. It is not easy with the political realignment and several burning local issues such as the royal crisis that's close to the hearts of many voters here. Now, they blame the incumbent chief minister for mishandling it. Now, Negeri Sembilan is one of two states helmed by Pakatan Harapan, and the incumbent chief minister, Aminuddin Harun, is from Mr. Anwar's party, PKR, and losing the state is really not an option. Now, another defeat here will be a major blow to Mr. Anwar's PH coalition and further weaken his grip on power to hold on to this unity government together till end of term. Now, he needs to maintain the confidence and the morale of not just his own party, PKR, that's still fractured after its former party number 2, Rafizi Ramli, left, and also his other coalition partners like DAP. Now, the Democratic Action Party, led by Transport Minister Anthony Look, is fighting to revive voter support after a series of bad showings. Now, in Sabah state election, remember, it was wiped out. And in the recent Johor election as well, DAP lost 4 seats. So it's desperately in need to turn things around. Now, DAP holds the largest chunk of seats, both here in Negeri Sembilan and also at the federal level. So it's defending its 11 state seats here, while Mr. Anwar's PKR has 5 seats and Amanah 1. PH needs to win at least 2 or 3 more seats in order to cross the finishing line here on August 1st.
Melissa, you mentioned citing the chief minister, economic growth of more than 4% and investments more than doubling. If that is true, that's good for voters in Negeri Sembilan. Are they looking for change or are they happy with what they have?
You know, Wesu, I've only been here for about 2-3 days, and I'm already sensing lots of voters here. Many are anxious. Some are tired and upset with the intense politicking. They said, well, they continue to grapple with rising costs and the economic hardships. The incumbent government's term was cut short, no doubt, because the 14 assemblymen from Barisan Nasional withdrew their support, pulled the plug, destabilizing the state government while attempting to drag the royal institution into their wrangling. Now, Negeri Sembilan is a state that's steeped in royal tradition and custom, and that's both unique and complex. Nearly half of voters here are below the age of 40, and some are really confused with this new political alignment that we're seeing. Now, PH and BN are now rivals, slugging it out in this state election. The opposition Islamic Party is weighing in with the new party, Wawasan, making its debut here, while Bersatu is really a lot for voters to keep up with all these. Let's hear them out.
Rugilah kalau tak mengundi lagi orang muda kan. Masa depan negeri negara.
因為嗰啲毛統啊走出去係咪？咪又唔支持，咁樣就變咗跛咗腳咯，跛咗腳點？跛咗個不如就係打啦。
I think we should let the current government to implement to fulfill the 5 years.
Kita kasih balik, biar balik. Kita rakyat tengok 5 tahun tak buat, kita tukar balik. Easy.
Now, about 890,000 registered voters going to vote on August 1st, eligible to vote. Early voting is July 28. Voters turnout will be keenly watched. Now, nomination will begin in less than 12 hours, and we're expecting multi-corner fights all around.
All right, Haziq, let's take a look at what's happening where you are. So you're in Kuala Lumpur. Barisan Nasional doing very well in Johor. In Negeri Sembilan, do you see a similar victory?
Well, Wesu, I think Barisan Nasional will pose a substantial challenge. We have to remember that BN won handsomely in Johor. They captured more ground from Anwar's Pakatan Harapan, and so BN is riding this momentum into Negeri Sembilan. BN also held 14 seats in Negeri Sembilan before the State Assembly was dissolved, so it does have a sizable presence in the state it can rely on, even though PH had led the state government. Another thing to note is that BN will contest Negeri Sembilan in an alliance with some Pakatan Nasional parties, including the Islamic Party PAS, which has a really strong appeal among many Malay voters. This means that BN and PAS have taken care not to split the Malay vote in Negeri Sembilan, sort of joining forces against Anwar's PH. And from Johor, we also saw that PH component party, the Democratic Action Party or DAP, it's losing some support among its ethnic minority bases. So to also face a unified challenge from BN and PAS for the Malay vote, PH and Anwar will have their work cut out.
All right, Haziq, I have another question that we ask every correspondent every time we talk about Malaysia state elections, which is, will victory or loss for one party or another, or coalition or another, will that make it more likely that we will see snap elections sooner rather than later?
Well, Malaysia has to hold its next general election only by February 2028, so the ball is still very much in PM Anwar's court. However, another poor performance by PH in Negeri Sembilan will certainly pile the pressure on Anwar and signal further loss of confidence in his premiership. PH could write off its poor showing in Johor by saying that BN was the incumbent there with a really prominent chief minister candidate, but it cannot fall back on the same reasons if it does badly in Negeri Sembilan. If PH does badly, Anwar could face calls to dissolve parliament, not just from BN, but also from within his own PH coalition. For example, the DAP has been dissatisfied with Anwar's pace of reforms, and senior leaders could still resign from Anwar's cabinet if PH fails in Negeri Sembilan. With that said, however, analysts tell me Anwar will likely resist calls for a snap election, even if PH doesn't do well in Negeri Sembilan. This is so he can give time for PH to regroup, study what went wrong, and regain voters' trust. Anwar will be wary of letting BN capitalize on any sustained momentum heading into a general election, especially as there are no guarantees the current federal alliance with BN will continue into the next national polls.
Thanks. That's CNA's Melissa Goh and Aqil Haziq Mahmud, live from Malaysia, looking back at Johor elections and looking ahead to Negeri Sembilan elections on the 1st of August. Thank you.